Hello guys, this is the next part of tutorial videos about inventory system, and today we're gonna add materials to display as an icon for an item. I have added an icon for a secret pocket that was just generated by Midjourney, and I will replace it later, but for now this is fine. So after you have a texture that has an alpha channel, or even don't have an alpha channel, we have to create a material. Let's open UI folder and create a new material, and let's call it M content item base. Now let's open this material, select material attributes, and in material domain select user interface, and also let's make it translucent, and we have to provide the final color and opacity mask. So I'm just gonna drag my icon here, and RGB goes into a final color and alpha goes into opacity channel. Well, now we have to make it a parameter. Right click on it and convert to a parameter. Let's call it texture. And also we have to be able to rotate this texture, and to rotate the texture we can just rotate to UV. So let's get the text coordinate, and we have to use a rotator, custom rotator, and plug rotated values into UVs. And we have to provide the rotation angle. We can add static switch parameter and call it rotated with default value of false. And if it is not rotated, then we're gonna use constant 0, and if it is rotated, then we have to use constant minus 0.25 minus 0.25. Now let's check how it will look like. Well, that's fine. Now let's save, close it, and let's right click on this material and create a material instance. Let's call it mi secret pocket, and let's move it into icons folder. Move here. So now let's duplicate it and call it mi secret pocket rotated. And for rotated, we're gonna check rotated as true. So here we have two materials for secret pocket. Now let's open an inventory component, navigate to a place where we are creating our secret pocket, and we have to provide a thumbnail and a thumbnail rotated. So for thumbnail I'm going to provide mi secret pocket, and for thumbnail rotated mi secret pocket rotated. Save, compile. Now let's start, and here you can see that we have an icon of an image. Well, it's not perfect, but for detecting the for better visuals, it is at least better than white square. So what do we have to do now? Now we can drag in items from here to here, but what if I want to drag it on whole container somewhere? I cannot drop it here, but I want to do that. I want to be able to drag it on a whole debug pocket, and it will find a place in the debug pocket for placing this apple and store it. Well, we have to implement a drop functionality for this part, and to do that we need to make some changes in our widget. Let's open our widget blueprint container. Here it is. Let's make it fill screen. And instead of using an image here, we can use our VB container item, but with some changes. So let's open container, and instead of image, let's add maybe we can just replace it. Replace with, let's replace it with mm, canvas, and let's rename it. No, let's not rename it. And here we're gonna drop VB container item. And also let's scale it like this. We have a compiler error because image thumbnail is no more an image, it's already a canvas. But here we are setting in a function in event on initialized, we're setting an image to our image. So we're not gonna do that right now. We're gonna disconnect it, and let's promote our widget that we have added into a canvas to a variable, open graph, get it from here, and what functions do we have here in our widget? And we have pre-construct. Well, now let's open our widget blueprint container and remove this from our canvas, and let's rename an image to a CP container canvas. Save, compile. Let's add the no. Let's add a border in it. Oops. Let's set an anchors for a border. Set its brush color to translucent. So let's decrease an alpha of a border to 0, and let's rename it to B container item border and make it a variable. So what do we have to do here? We're gonna get this border in our event on initialized and add child to border. Now let's create a widget of an item. Create widget of type VB container item. Cell size is gonna be cell size. Item is gonna be item. And add it to a child. Add it as a child to our border. And we can delete this ZBrush material. Save and compile, but now we will have a problem because size for each item is calculated inside of our VB container item here. In refresh function, we are calculating the size, but we want it, well, let's take a look. So in Tarkov, for example, every item size is, I don't understand, is it 3 per 3, and maybe we should do the same or set it auto size. So what if we will make it auto size, set auto or set size? No. Well, let's try. Let's see how it will it work. Yes, it works, and now as you can see we can drag over on it, and we can also drag it, but that's not what we want. Well, size of secret pocket is fine, but we should be able to set it manually, because for example a backpack may have different dimensions, but its icon should also be 3 per 3 in this place. So what do we have to do now is well, also I'm not sure about backpacks, so I think that we have to add a new field for icon with dimensions 3x3 just for these slots. So let's open our BC container item and to duplicate thumbnail parameter and call it square thumbnail. Compile, save. Let's open inventory component and a square thumbnail, for example, for a secret pocket is gonna be my secret pocket. Save and compile. Okay, every time we're adding something here, we have to recreate this construction. So I'm gonna call construct object from class. I don't know why, but we have to do that. Let's name it secret pocket. Thumbnail is gonna be my secret mi secret pocket. Also, dimensions of a secret pocket are gonna be 2x2 because we're also able to store it in inventory or drag it somewhere, even if it is equipped. For thumbnail rotated, it should be mi secret pocket rotated. Rows goes to rows. Actor to spawn. We don't have an actor for it yet. And square thumbnail is going to be my secret pocket. Now we can delete this. Connect it here. And yeah, it works, but this one for debug pocket doesn't work. So I'm gonna duplicate this one. And debug pocket will not have any dimensions because it is debug pocket. We will not drag it. So debug pocket, no thumbnails, and only rows. Delete this and connect everything. So honestly, I don't understand why. Well, construct object from class, BC container item. If someone knows why this happens, and maybe you know an easier way to deal with it, please tell me, because I think that I will be a little bit tired of recreating this function every time I add a new parameter to an object. Well, the only way to deal with it normally, I think, is to create some global function to construct an object. So let's open our BPF container helper and create function construct item. And here we're gonna call construct object from class BC container item. And we will add outer, dimensions, name, thumbnail, and all of the parameters as an input to this global function. Like this. And we will return constructed object out from here. So if everything will go wrong again, we will have to change it only here and nowhere else. So outputs are gonna be item, save, compile. Let's close it, and in inventory, let's call construct item. Outer is gonna be self. Well, dimensions 2x2, secret pocket, my secret pocket, my secret pocket rotated. Rows, actor to spawn, we don't have one, and square thumbnail is my secret pocket. Okay, so now it should work. Okay, now we have to use this square thumbnail somewhere in our widget, and let's open a widget for our item and add a new variable. Let's call it override. I am thinking how we should call it. Should override size. By default it is true. And let's make it exposed on spawn and instance editable and also private. And in our widget blueprint container, let's refresh the creation of this widget. And we're gonna uncheck this. So now in our widget blueprint container item in refresh function, we can, or maybe not should override. Let's maybe call it is equipped item. Let's call it is equipped item. And here we're gonna check. Let's add a branch or not a branch. Let's get this equipped item and select. We're gonna select 2 times. Let's move this multiplications a little bit to the bottom. And now we're gonna set width override as a result of first select and height override as a result of a second select. So if item is not equipped, for false, we're gonna use the result of computations like this. And for true, we're gonna use a size. What is the size of this item is 100 per 100. So we're gonna use 100 on 100. Okay. Now also let's in our container I'm not sure whether we have to show such background color when we're hovering an item. I don't think that it is a problem. Also, as you can see, such that we can drag our secret pocket and store it back in secret pocket. That's not what I want. That's not what we want to see in our game. So looks like let's open our own drag detected function, and we're calling remove from parent, remove on call on item removed. And what handles this event is our for an item cell handling this. Let's open our cell, open on item removed. It takes inventory component and calls remove item at index, remove item, and we're calling on inventory updated. So let's see what our on inventory updated does. So on inventory updated, we're calling refresh inventory, get all container items. So maybe our secret pocket is not removed from an inventory by this function. Oh, because we're calling remove item from some cell, and our item doesn't have any cell. So let's open our widget blueprint container, because no one handling a drag event for this item, because it is located not in any cell. For these items, their cells are handling their dragging event, but for this, no one. And we have to add a binding, because in this case, our widget blueprint container should handle this event. So after creation of this widget, let's bind event on item removed. Create custom event, call it on item removed. And we're gonna get inventory component and call remove item. Well, it expects a cell from us, but that's because we have implemented a logic to remove items from an inventory, but not an item that is equipped on us by itself. So let's open inventory component and create such a function. Let's find where remove item is located. Let's move it into category removal, remove item, and here we're gonna duplicate it and call it remove equipped item. Well, we can remove this, and we can remove an input for a cell. We need only an item input, and we have to loop through something. We have to loop through items in our inventory, get items, and check if item is equal. Then we're getting our items array and calling remove index. So if true, we're calling remove index. And calling on inventory update. So we have to call this function now. Also for replicated project we have to create few events as previously. Let's create them. Let's custom event, remove equipped item. Let's call it E and remove equipped item. Maybe just event, remove equipped item. It will call remove equipped item. So we need an input of item. Let's duplicate this event and call it on a server. Server remove equipped item. And call server remove equipped item. Compile, save. Now let's try it. Oh, we didn't call it from anywhere, so let's open our widget blueprint container and call this function event remove equipped item and pass item. Okay, now let's test it. So now we can drag it, put it somewhere, and we cannot drop it on Earth because it doesn't have an actor to spawn. So also what do we want to do is we want to be able to equip it back, and in Tarkov it is created like in this way. So we have a default slots. We have a slot for tactical rig and for backpack and for a secret pouch. Oh, not for our secret pockets. We have 3 slots here, and we are able to just drag this item, for example, if it is stored here, into a needed slot. Well, now I'm thinking how we should do that, whether we need to have such slots here, and I will decide it to the next video. So for now, let's. Whoa. Looks like we have some issues. Looks like a size for a widget blueprint container item is counted incorrectly. So by default, is equipped item should be false and not true. So disable it. Open our widget blueprint container, and here let's check is equipped item. So now apple will be fine, and now let's implement a logic to be able to drop an apple from this container right into this container, without selecting a slot manually. So I want to be able to drag an apple into a secret pocket by itself. So to do that, let's open our widget blueprint container item, and let's override the function on drag over and on drag leave. So on drag over, first thing that we have to check is if it is equipped item, because we want or not an equipped item, if this item is a container. So let's get an item and check if its rows are empty. Is empty. So if they are empty, then we don't have to handle a drag over and drag leave. So if true, then we're returning false. If false, then we have to do something to draw some green square and so on. And we have to do the same for drag leave. Let's open event graph on drag leave, paste it here, and do it like this. Now, what do we have to check? We have to check if we can store an item that we're dragging in this container. Now, to do that, let's get an operation in drag over. Get operation. and we're gonna cast it to our drag drop container item. Get item from here. We also need to know about inventory component. So let's add a variable here and call it inventory component of type BPC, our inventory component. Let's make it instance editable and exposed on spawn. And let's provide it from our widget blueprint container here, so that we will not forget to do it in future. And we don't need to provide it for our other items. Oh no, we need. So let's now open our widget blueprint container cell. Find event, find draw items function. And here we need to refresh create widget function and connect inventory component here. Compile and save. Now let's open our container item back, and we can get inventory component and check if we can store item. We can check only if we can store item in cell location, but we also need a function whether we can add an item to a container has place for, here it is. We have a function has place for item in container, and we need to provide a container and an item. So we're gonna call this function. Let's open our cell item back, and let's call has place for item in container. And we have to provide a container. This is gonna be an item, and an item that we want to store is this item. Let's connect it to an item. Now let's add a branch. And check the result. So what we're gonna do now is open our designer tab, set it to fill screen, for example, and let's find what is background border here. Do we have some background? Oh, we're changing the background border when our mouse enters or leaves. So what we're gonna do, on drag over, we're gonna get our background border and set brush color to some value. Depending on the result, so we don't need the branch. We're gonna get a result and select and plug it into a brush color. So if we can store an item in this container for true, we're gonna color it with some green color, 0, 2. And in another case with some red color, 0, 2. Now, after that, we have to return true. So we're returning true that we're handled this drag over operation. Now let's open drag leaf. So for our drag leaf, the only thing that we have to do is to set brush color back to background border color back to base color. We can copy this logic from event on mouse leaf and paste it here. Also, we have to do it on drag cancelled, like this. Now let's check it. So we can, well, looks like drag leaf doesn't work, but for example, let's. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Something is not working, and so if item get rows is empty, then we're doing nothing. So we have to set brush color to nothing when it is false here, and on drag over, our result looks like it is always true. So has place for item in container returns true. Let's item. Container is this item on which we dragged over, and an item by itself is an item from drag and drop operation. And has place for item in container returns true. Oh well, we have an issue. Well, we can. So an issue is not in our new logic. An issue we have is in our can store item and select location, I think. So let me find it. So our function add item to container works incorrectly, totally. So let's delete this. Let's delete everything from here. So what we gonna do here is to convert an index to x and y and call add item to select location. So what we're gonna do? We're gonna get a cell and get its dimensions, split them here. Next we're gonna get an index and modulate it. Not like this, we're gonna get dimension. No, we're gonna get an index and modulate it by x, and this is gonna be our x, and we're gonna get index and divide it by y. This is gonna be our y. So next we can call add item to select location, and in location we can give an x, give an y, connect item, connect cell, and after that we are finished, I think. Now let's test it. Oh yeah, now it's stored correctly, and as you can see now I cannot so it's colored with red that I cannot drag my apple into a secret pocket. But what if I can? Nothing will happen, it will be dropped, because our item cannot handle drop. Well, for this, let's open our widget for an item, WB container item, open event graph, and override on drop. First thing that we have to check if this item is container. So let's get an item, get rows, and check if they are not empty, and add a branch. So if they are not empty, then this item is a container and we can drop in it. If not, then we are returning false because we cannot handle this drop operation. So in case of true, we're gonna get operation, and we're gonna cast it to drag drop container item. We're gonna get an item that we're trying to drop, and after that we have to check that we can store this item in in this item. Let's open our on drag over and just copy this function has place for item in container. So let's call it here. So we're gonna check has place for item in container. Let's get inventory component and connect it to a target. Item is gonna be dragged item and container is gonna be item. Well, let's add a branch. If result is false, then we're gonna get our inventory component and call and check can if we can add this item somewhere in our inventory. Let's promote this item to a local variable, call it local drop item, and connect it here. Here we're gonna check if we can add item to an inventory, then we're gonna get inventory component and call add item to inventory and connect cell to cell and local drop item to item, index to index. If false, then we're gonna get inventory component and call drop item. And item is gonna be local drop item. Compile, save. Well, that's for a false case. And for true case, we're gonna get inventory component and call add item um, to sell at location. Well, and we know only an index. Maybe which functions do we have here? We have add item to container, and it's private. Add item. We can call add item to inventory. This is our event. In case if you are creating a non-replicated application, you have to call add item to container. And we need to connect cell, index, and local drop item. Save and compile. And we're gonna copy return node and paste it here with true value and here also with true value that we have, and to notify that we have handled a drop event. Now let's check it like this. So as you can see, everything is working, and let me pick a carrot. So now we can drag and drop into our items that we have here. Also in debug pocket, it doesn't have an image, so we can see green or red color. but uh, it is drawn behind this white square. So I think that's it for this video. Thanks for watching, hope it will help someone.